Good morning, people,
Good morning.
and happy birthday to us, kind of.
Kind of tomorrow. No, it's birthday eve.
Evans, I'm going to start beef straight off the bat because ever since you've got that chair,
I'm laid back. I'm
you be
just.
fucking slouching. Sit
Oh,
up,
this chair is absolutely fucking fantastic.
pay
So
attention.
I am up and I am paying attention, sir.
Yeah, but yeah, happy birthday to us. It's our anniversary almost. We posted our first video
Yes.
on the third. Is it the third?
The
Yeah, the
first.
3rd of February last year. And now we're here. It's been basically a whole year. Obviously, I've been away on holiday a few times, and we've had Christmas and stuff, so we haven't got like in the camera.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
we're back.
Back.
Okay. uh, yeah, we haven't had 52 weeks of straight videos, but it's been a year since we started. So to celebrate that, we thought we'd do a little Q&A. Have we done it? I don't think we've really done a Q&A, to be honest with you. So, but I feel like a lot of the people that come to this regularly know us pretty well.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's a huge amount of people.
And we talk a lot about what we do anyway. So,
I can't imagine there's a huge amount of people that actually don't know what we do already, or don't know us inside out because we don't. If for anybody who doesn't know, we don't stop talking like ever. So.
Actually, speaking of not stop talking, obviously last episode podcasts. What do you call it? An episode? We call them episodes.
I don't know, podcast. Yeah, just call it a podcast, whatever.
On the last one, obviously we got pretty heated about numbers and stuff, and then that then continued into the group. So on Wednesday we had the war of averages, where we all debated back and forth what we decided to be. Well, I mean, I don't. It got a bit lost as to what the actual point was in the first place, to be honest with you. But I think the conclusion was generally that people make it work all sorts of ways.
That's my argument. So let me just clean up the screen. My argument was never that it didn't work and that you couldn't do it one way or you had to do it the right way, or like not the right way, but the way I say is the right way. Like my argument was never that. It was just that you can't. My argument was always if you do averages or you don't track numbers.
No, we don't.
No, I'm just saying that was it. Like that was it. My argument was never that it didn't work, because it does work. Obviously, there's plenty of people that
need to be like that. Okay, wait, I'm not getting into it again.
Trust me, in the reseller group on Wednesday, it got interesting. There was a proper debate. It was quite fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, because it continued into our group chat afterwards.
Yeah.
For the group, and then we had to sideline it to the community call. But it was there was people on both sides and fighting their corners. It was interesting, to say the least.
Oh yes.
Okay. In terms of people in here, good morning, Tash. Have we got anyone else in here? What's happening? Seems like a quiet one today.
Yes.
No one wants to turn up for our birthday, which is quite rude, to be honest. But if you do have any questions, basically, it's going to be a live Q&A. So, for example, if we answer a question, you can then continue by asking a follow-up question. Or if you have your own questions, chuck them in the chat and we can answer them live. So we're a bit more put on the spot, which would be interesting. But we did both post
yes,
a Q&A thing yesterday, and I got some extra questions as well. So I thought we might as well start there. Actually, is there anything else you want to
talking about our weekend this week?
Do you want to do a weekly? I forget. Do you want to do a weekly update?
To be fair, so mine's really, really boring because I actually did nothing. Like there's absolutely zero to note other than on Friday. So this is something that is interesting, but basically, obviously, I've been going into my electronics and different bits and pieces, and I'm a big fan of a coffee machine. People spend good money on. I spent £450 on my coffee machine. Like, people are snobby about their coffee, like I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was on Facebook, and I basically had to Google Lens the front of this this coffee machine, and it came up with a model, or like a model of a coffee machine, right? But it's just called like the Ava something cup. But there's different numbered models of that one. So anyway, they had it up for 150. I went and collected it. I paid 120 in the end. And I anticipated, based on the research, that it was going to be around £260 in sale, which, you know, not the hugest flip in the world, but still a pretty decent one considering I know it's going to sell really quickly. And it turns out they have different variants of models. So it's like ETAMS, 360, 960, 920, and all these sort of different models. And I wasn't fully aware of the detail in which the models were. So I actually only got to list it for 200. So I paid 120. It sold for 200 in 48 hours. So like it wasn't a big, but I only made £60 and I was anticipating to make over 100. So that was just something interesting because obviously,
as like considering that's a big purchase, as big mistakes go, like that's not really a bad one.
No,
like,
but what
you get your money back in £60 profit in 24, 48 hours or whatever, when you've made a mistake buying it in the first place, is a pretty sound mistake to make in general.
But the consensus was that it was because obviously with clothing, I feel like relatively confident on like 90% of the purchases I make now. Whereas now I've started to branch out into different niches in the electronic side of things. I'm going to start making the mistakes that I made in the clothing side of things, right? And it's quite interesting that, yeah, just in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, I've made a mistake there, and I was happy I made it, if that makes sense, because I was like, oh, I made the mistake, but now I know that if I'm ever looking at coffee machines again, you don't take the face value of the fascia of the coffee machine, because, for instance, it could be like a Sage Unite, right? But it might be a Sage Unite 290, 280, 270, 260. There's like loads of variations of that model. So that was something that I learned very quickly. And not only did I fail and learn, but I also still made 60 quid. So I was really happy to make it, understand it, and now I know more about it. And that's kind of something that I obviously, in my head, that's what I've done a lot in the last like 4 years, which is just buy shit, make mistakes, learn from it, and then don't do it again, or get the knowledge to move on to the next one. So I mean, that's really interesting. But I've done nothing else this weekend.
I mean, realistically, that's what loads of this is. I think business in general is that whole thing. So basically, just fuck up as quick as you can, and you'll get there faster, I think, is the gist of things. When people are, you hear it a lot of the time. The more mistakes you make, the quicker you'll learn. So, and again, as mistakes go, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
I made so many mistakes when I first started like clothing. Like I bought absolute rubbish for so long, and it's just because I heard brands and I would just buy them and not even think about it. And I had a wardrobe full of absolute junk for the most part. A lot of stuff that would surprisingly, like thinking about it, stuff that sold that I'd be surprised if it sold now, but did sell back then. I still don't know how.
It's really interesting though, because even if you look at stuff that you listed 6 months ago, some of it you're like, oh, like why did I buy that? So like it's so funny how quickly you learn, because like even right. So I've been selling women's clothing now for, it wasn't last year, it was the year before, so it'd be about 1.5 years. And even still, every now and then, or in Kaylee's opinion, quite a lot, I pick up ugly ass shit. Like like some of it sells, of course, but like in general, I sell like I still buy stuff that is not good. So even 1.5 years in, I can still make mistakes and stuff like that. So,
Chuggles is here. I feel like Jack's not been here for ages.
No,
Jack said Benji's greatest mistake was selling all that amazing sweaty beige so cheap. I never followed up with Talia. I really should. I'd be interested.
You need to follow up with her, because I'd love to know how she did with it.
I'd love to know how she did. But my mistake was, one, probably being lazy with it, to be honest with you, actually is for the most part, and two, not acting about it faster. That's what I actually think the mistake was.
How long did you have it for? Was it 1 year?
I bought it in like November of 24, I think. So I don't know when did I end up selling it? When was the?
It kind of been more than like 2 months ago, right?
Nah, I think it was more than that. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was decently more than 2 months ago.
Okay.
I think.
Did you sell it before you go to Australia?
No, I didn't sell it before I went to Australia. I sold it.
When did you go? July? So it would have been after August, but yeah, a couple of months ago, maybe 3 or 4.
I don't know if yo is like the same as yo-yo or the same as like, I feel like we had another yo in here at some point. Like questions like that. But do you? I mean, we can answer it. Fuck it, gun.
I answer these all the time. I don't care. I currently do use a bot. I am never shied away from the fact I'm not asked. I don't care what anyone says or thinks about it. But yes, I have been banned. I have also been banned 4 times. There are ways to be smarter. For instance, my first ban was because I was selling on an account and then buying from the same account with a bot, right? And then I got banned, which absolutely massively like killed my business for like 4 months because I had to go and set up a new Vinted and then I had to upload all those items and stuff like that. So there are ways around it. I'm not going to advocate for it. In fact, I had 2 people yesterday reach out to me after I posted my trolley full of parcels incoming from Vinted. And they were like, "You still using the bot?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, I'm really interested." I said, "Don't bother." Because I've been banned 4 times in 6 months. And it's a rigmarole to get a new account and make one up. You have to do a bunch of stuff behind the scenes to set those things up. And if you're not dedicated to really going at it and just making sure that it's worth it, because also what happens sometimes is once you get your account banned, if say for instance you have like 10 parcels outgoing and then you don't collect them because you're banned, then those parcels go back and you don't get the money back. So if you get banned at the wrong time, you could potentially lose up to like 10 or 15 items depending on how much you snipe. So in my opinion, it is 100% not worth it unless you are 1,000,000% dedicated on rolling with the punches. Like I said, four bans in 4 months is not ideal for anybody else. So yeah, there are lots of ways to be smarter about it, but yeah, it's not.
I would actually also be super interested for you to go do it by hand at some point again.
I used to like it,
but I'd guess you go back and do it by hand and compare how you actually do, because I think there's people that do it by hand still, and they still have like plenty of success generally.
More than me doing it by hand, 100%.
Exactly. So I'd be super interested to.
The only thing I would say about this that from a productivity standpoint is that because I can do, because it's usually on Discord, right? I can have 2 Discord screens up, so I can have 2 filters. So I have a men's filter and I have a women's filter, right? And they roll side by side, and I don't have to constantly refresh. They just appear in front of me in like a line, right? So what that means is that whilst I'm watching that, I can also be on my other screen on my computer, and I can be doing auctions whilst I'm on my phone listening to a Whatnot stream. And then every time I hear something on the Whatnot stream I want, so I can actually, because I'm doing that, I can source from 2 filters on Vinted. I can also look at auctions and do that. And then on top of that, I can have on my phone up on Whatnot. So I'm able to source in 4 different ways, or 3 different ways, essentially, doing the same thing. Whereas somebody who's on their phone, they could have a Whatnot and an auction, but then they're only able to search one thing on their phone, like one thing. So literally, it's, again, like Jack says, it's not easy, and it's not for the faint-hearted, because there is a lot of like chaos in what I do, but I source from like 4 different avenues at the same time. And that's the way that variety.
One of the main benefits is just how it presents the data to you. Like I think, like you said, you don't have to refresh it; just kind of a continuous feed. Because even like, for example, I could have 2 Vinted tabs up, 1 on, or 3. I could have as many different Vinted tabs as I want on like a monitor and split the screen into 3. But the fact that I have to go through and refresh all of them consistently is just a little bit inconvenient comparatively. It's saying you can't buy anything anymore is just I don't think true.
Not true, no. I know many people, by the way, that don't use bots, that have bought things that I've tried to get with my bot, and they've beat me to it, because the bot isn't always fantastic. Also, there's a mental lag that goes with it as well. So like if I'm sourcing on 4 different
things, you decide what you're buying.
Sometimes I miss things because I'm sourcing, like I'll be looking at the auctions, and then on this other side of things, like sometimes my brain doesn't comprehend what's there. The way that the bots show you things is very different to the way that people see things on Vinted. And if you're fast and you're good on Vintage, you will be able to buy things.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's the people are just as fast or faster than bots by themselves, like completely. I think when you feel like people are you say resellers are using bots when they use it, I promise you some of them are not, and they are just sick, freaky with it. And they know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly what they want, and they know the pricing of it, and that just allows them to be very fast whenever they're making an action.
Also, it's the same with anything else, right? You walk into a charity shop and a reseller's already been in there. You just have to. So this is the argument, right? Is that, I can't get anything because there's so many resellers in my town. Well, you just have to know more. or no different. So, like for instance, there's a reseller I know who will they sell stuff basically just on keywords. They'll buy a Peruna like gothic vintage Y2K looking skirt, and they'll buy it for £2 and they'll sell it for like £100 because they'll just sell it on like style and stuff. And they'll go to like the oldest items on Vinted. So a lot of people like us, we're looking at the freshest items. We want to get the thing first before anybody else. But there is actually a way. In fact, I did it the other day where I bought a Yakko Maricard cape in wool for 15 quid, and it had been listed for 6 months because for whatever reason it had missed the window, and nobody searches by oldest anymore. They always search by newest. So I managed to pick up that as a bargain. So there's many ways to do it, and this is a big problem I think in the community in general, is that people use the other people are doing this or other people are doing that as a crux to dismiss it straight away. Like I used to think, oh, I don't go on Whatnot because there's so many resellers on there buying stuff. I have spent probably about £2,000 this month on Whatnot, buying good quality items for good prices. And then auctions, I can't buy on auctions because the old boys, like the camera guys, they're selling in shops and they can get like £100 more for a camera than I can. Well, don't buy cameras, buy something else. Like there's always an avenue, and there's always a excuse for something. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves, really. It's like there's always a way to make money. There's always.
For the people in here, quickly, just a reminder, we're doing a live Q&A. So if you have any questions for us, just throw them in the chat and we'll answer them. If not, we'll take a shot. So yeah, if you've got any questions at all, like on basically anything realistically that's within reason, throw them in the chat and we'll answer them live for you. I think, but I think vintage, like, don't get me wrong, I think vintage sniping's gotten more competitive. But I think there's still a million and one ways to skin the cat. And when I used to do it, I used to go outside of the norm, and my filters would be searches that aren't in the brand database deliberately. So yeah. I would only look for stuff that isn't coming up in the filtered database to see what, like, some unique stuff that you could.
There's that brand. Is it called & Sons?
Yeah.
What's the other one that's like it? There's something that's something & Sons. There's a brand that's something & Sons, and then & Sons.
Only & Sons or something.
Only & Sons, yeah, something like that. But basically, & Sons is not on the brands list on Vinted.
Mm-hmm.
So you could buy just & Sons stuff, like if you wanted to, and there's great money and great margins on there. Also, a lot of this massively depends on what you're willing to pay as your cost of goods as well. Like there are people like Jack that's happy to pay £60-70 on items to sell it for £200. There's people that don't want to pay more than £7 per piece when it goes to 10 because they don't want to pay more than £10 cost of goods. Like you could spend £300 a piece if you wanted to, if you were going to be able to sell it for 6 or 7. Like there's loads of different ways of doing it, I think.
Facts. Next question from Jack is, how's my mum? I mean, I don't know if she's in here and can answer herself, but a lot of the time she is. But she's good, I believe. She's having a nice time. We had a nice roast yesterday. It was lovely. Outside of that, I'll crack into some of the questions that we got on Instagram. So the first question I got, I guess I won't read out who the people are.
I wouldn't read out, but yeah.
I'm going to read one out who the person is, and it's all going to make sense. So someone said, what's your price reducing structure? Has this changed as you've scaled your business? And I think that's a really interesting question. I mean, we've answered it before, and I think we've talked about the benefits and like how we've actually started to apply it. And I genuinely think it's probably one of the best things to do for your business overall, to keep its health, if that makes sense. Because I think, so has it changed as I've scaled? Yes, because it had to. As my store got bigger and bigger, it took, like, there was more and more junk taking up space.
Space is the biggest reason for it, right?
Yeah. My storage isn't the biggest in the world. It's got a decent amount of size. I can probably fit like near 2,000 items or something like that. But as you grow, and if you go for the longer you go for, generally speaking, the more stuff just piles up, like bad purchases, stuff that sticks around, small sizes, things you didn't list properly, overpriced stuff, things with marks or stains that you hoped would sell but haven't, whatever. Lots of little things, and some of them, you can avoid as you get better, not picking up the small sizes, look at being more diligent when you're checking stuff, making sure you're pricing reasonably and all that stuff, which lowers the need for something like that. But regardless, I'd say a clearance strategy is so big. Like it's so useful. And when I only started listing this month. Like just last month gone is when I first started listing again properly. Before that, I was purely living off of a clearance strategy. That was literally it. I went like 5 months on a clearance strategy. And because especially at the start, towards the end, it petered off because I was only left with pretty bad stuff. But at the start, when I first got going, my store was just as alive as it had ever been because I was actually pricing things down and getting them gone. So in terms of what it actually looks like for me, my thing at the moment is I go 3 months without changing the price, generally speaking. And once something gets to the 3 month mark, we start to get like aggressively discounting it, especially depending on how it's doing. But 30% off, like I think we go 25% off at the first, and then after that therefore goes another month. And then we'll do 10% at a time after that. But and on Vinted, it's even different. When it gets to the 3 months mark, I'll decrease it by like 5% a week. Like if I'll discount it once, and then I'll discount it by like 5% every week because I just need it to get gone at that point. I probably need to iron it out a bit more and make sure it's maybe get more aggressive with it, to be honest with you. Maybe I do like a 30% discount and then another 10%, so then, or maybe then a 20% and a 20%. So instead of like taking 3 months to then clear, it clears in that space. But I'm also aware that with my 3 month sell-through rate, 6 months makes like stuff will sell in a day. Like a lot of stuff recently has been selling in a day, and some stuff will sell in 6 months, and it will average out to about 3 months, right? So and then at the 6 months mark, it's like time to kill it. Like if it's still there, it either gets super heavy discounted or it gets moved on in some way, shape, or form. Or clearance auctions. So that's the other thing I've implemented. Once they've been around for long enough and they've got to a low enough price. The other thing I'm thinking about implementing actually as well is just a flat rate. Like obviously I sent stuff to auction at Christmas, like 110 items or something like that. But I'm thinking I should actually just before that point put everything at like £5 or something like that. Because 99p plus postage is basically £5 or whatever.
Yeah,
maybe like a £7 flat rate and see if that sells. If not, it goes on auction and then it's gone. Because I end up doing I cleared loads of stuff and got rid of it all. So that's my strategy. I think as it time scaled, it had to scale, and it in terms of how you do it, you could get more space, and that would kind of get rid of the need to get more aggressive with it or have it at all. But I don't think that's a sound strategy, and I don't think that's going to get the money back in your business to be able to then go again. Because I think what happens is we hold on to the idea that these are going to sell at some point for money, when realistically you can just take your money back. If you can even just get your money back flat, fantastic. Outside of that, you can just want some money to then take that and do something better with it. Because Chris said a minute ago that even 4 months ago, he looks and he was like buying bad items, right? I have basically had a full store reset. So it's super interesting to now use what I've changed everything, and know so much more to now list stuff again. I'll actually be so interested. I might do it in the group at some point this week or next week. But I'd love to do a review of my store again, actually, to see all the new stuff we're putting in and see what people think.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm trying to only put in good stuff, and it'd be interesting. And it's different though. It's like different goods, what I consider good stuff. So it'd be interesting to talk about. Sorry, I basically answered everything.
Yeah, mine's very similar. I'm aggressive after 3 months, slightly more aggressive again. But actually, you did an auction. I quickly looked yesterday, and I've got about 2 to 250 items that are on the lower end. So like sub £20, like £20 and below. And what I was gonna do, I actually spoke to one of my guys that does Whatnot, and I'm tempted to see whether I can sell everything to him for like £2 or £3 a piece and just clear, because obviously I ain't got to worry about that. Also, on top of that, just from a space perspective, We are back. We consolidated maybe like a month ago, and we're already back to like being max because the sales have slowed down a little bit for us at this moment in time, and we're still listing the 20. So we're obviously, you know, bulking up the store. So actually I want to kind of remove the 200 items so that it frees up some space. And also on top of that, yesterday I activated a 20 or 25% discount on all footwear, because I want to move out of that because it's taken up too much room for not enough profit in terms of the footwear. And also one of the reasons why I was so on it at the time was because I had the contact with a lady with the trainers, right? And that was why I was quite happy just to keep buying them, and I was just throwing them in there. But no, that contact's just gone dead, like completely dead. I will see her again at the car boot, but I'm just not going to activate the trainer. I'll try and get into the clothing and stuff a bit more with her this year. But so I'm gonna knock the footwear on the head, and I'm gonna clear that out. So depending on who contacts me, so basically, if anyone does whatnot and they want cheap stock, holler at your boy, and then I'll do you a good deal because I've got so much stuff to clear out, and I kind of want to clear it out, and it's stuff that you'll double up on. You'll probably sell it for like, on average, about £6 or £7, £8 maybe, and you'll be paying like 2 or 3. So quick, easy money. I might just do a whatnot.
That is how you transfer something into a sales pitch.
I'm tempted maybe just to throw it on whatnot myself and just do it. But then there's also the element of you could just bang it on Vinted, but obviously it takes longer to like it's on Vinted, but like maybe just throw it up for a £5 on Vinted. It just will take longer anyway. So
might not auction it.
Oh, I could auction it, but I just don't think the auction does enough on eBay to get the traction. So I was watching. I'm not going to bring this up here, but I was watching eBay live sellers yesterday, and kind of some of the stuff they're selling, what they're doing. It's just like a random one that I'd found. And then I watched a Pokemon. I was like, nah, this is how you do it. This guy's lit. He was, by the way, he was selling packs of Pokemon cards that have just come out. That he had like they like probably come like a triple blister, and they're like $14.99 or something like that. He was selling a pack each, so he basically sells the pack to someone in the stream. No,
rips it, right?
Ripping shit, baby.
He was getting £15 a pack.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a brand new set, so like it did quite well. Yeah. I was just like, this guy's living life. He gets the joy of opening the pack. It's paid for, and he's making profit on each one. And he's just living life and chilling and ripping Pokemon cards. I was like, this is amazing. Yeah, but I'd love to discuss like auctions and live selling and stuff like that actually in a different capacity in the group probably this week or next.
Question in there for you as well. Good old Jackarino. I've got mine to hand straight away. So
see, this is so hard to just think back on everything you've sold. What's your favorite item you've ever sold for whatever reason, really? Whether it's a fun story or it's just cool or sold high. Okay, you go.
I'll go straight away. What you ever think? So basically, I've actually got a YouTube video of this where I picked up a JVC projector, and this thing like is the size and the weight of a tank, right? And basically, I picked it up, and he wanted 20 quid for it. I paid the 20 quid. I looked on my phone, checked the comps, and some of these sell from anywhere between 300 and 3,000, right? So I was like, cool, pay 20 quid, no problem. Anyway, did the whole car boot, picked up another one for £1. That was great, whatever. And then I went back home, and I did some research. Couldn't find this model on eBay whatsoever. But I powered it on, and the orange light flashed to say that it wasn't working or it needed a new whatever. Anyway, did all the checks and all the things, and then found out that the ballast board, which is technically like the motherboard of the projector, basically they are prone to go on this model specifically. And I called up a company, and they were like, "Yeah, you ship it to us, we ship it back. It would be £450. They would repair the ballast board. They would give it a full service, all of this jazz, whatever, and it would be fully working, no problem." And I was like, I don't really want to spend £450 because, you know. But then I did a bit more research and found out that this model of JVC projector was only available in America, and when it was sold new, it was $10,000. And I was like, oh shit, this is like crazy, right? So anyway, I listed it at £1,500, didn't sell. Brought it down to 1,000, didn't sell. Brought it down to 750, and somebody offered me £575. I accepted it. It got shipped out, and then I got a feedback saying, had the ballast, because I put in the description, like, I've checked with a company, it's £450 to get the ballast board repaired, blah, blah, blah. And somebody basically messaged me in the feedback and was like, got it repaired, the ballast board fixed the whole problem, I can't believe I got this for such a good price, right? And that today is still the most expensive thing I've sold on eBay, and it was broken. So I quite like that story because I had no idea, no comps, no nothing. Bought it, it was broken, still made the best of a bad deal, realistically. Yeah, it was just quite a cool thing.
Okay, my answer is gonna suck because I'm so bad at remember. My memory is just terrible, and everything that I'm thinking was just recency bias of what's like sold for me in the last. However,
you were thinking of that Alaya coat, weren't you?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I was thinking of other stuff as well, and like some little things that are kind of like I'm happy about because they're like proof of concept for me. But I can't tell you anything except for like the ridiculous sales. Like obviously, I've sold some high stuff like a Tom Ford.
What is your most expensive sale? Like just
I think it's the Tom Ford suit. I think that went for 800 or something like that. I mean, you know, when you find absolute bangers for nothing, that's always exciting. For example, like the Anglo-Italian coat I found, which was in a shop that overprices everything. And then I found it and I was like, this, I didn't even know what the brand was. I was like, it looks interesting and good quality. And the label looks like one of the fancier labels. So I looked up and I was like jaw dropped in the shop. I was like, and then you just have to keep like a cool face. And I don't know what the need is for us to then act super cool, like, oh yeah, nonchalant about the fact that we've got something on our hands.
Like they're going to up the price because your face got excited for 2 seconds.
And that was super interesting, and that sold for like 500 quid as well. But to be honest with you, like I don't know, I genuinely like little ones that especially right now when I'm trying to change stuff, or things where I try something based on style and like it's confirmed that I got it right. Like I enjoy that because it's like, obviously I can look at the comps and go, this is great. I know this is great. I don't need to think too much. It's just going to be an easy flip. But when I try something myself, like off my own volition, and it goes well, then it makes me feel like I know what I'm doing. And like reaffirms my thought process, which is always good. But I can't think of anything that you're like, right. The one recently is the Alaya coat because I didn't think that was going to sell. I bought that again as a risk, and based on the fact I paid something for it because I was going to price it way cheaper and I thought that would make it sell. And then it did really, really quickly. And I was like, okay, I paid up for that. And I was worried it was going to stick around, and it was sold in 24 hours. Fantastic. Like, and then there's little things that I've sold for literally like £18 recently or £17 where I'm like, there's no real justification for this except for I think it will do this. And then it does. And I'm like, nice. So I don't know. I don't have a one-off particular sale. I think the Anglo-Italian is probably up there because one, I didn't know the brand. Two, it was like such a banger pickup, and three, it was so popular. But outside of that, I'm trying to think of anything old, like back in the day when I was picking up everything. If there was any like random fun pickups that I can think of, but I just can't remember a single thing because my memory sucks. So I got nothing.
Tasha's with the army smock, so that was really interesting as well. We were at a car boot, right, and there was a guy that basically he had his boot open, and there was like 15 people surrounding his boot, and they were just trying to get army stuff up. Like it was all like army gear or whatever, and there was one jacket left, and it was like like the standard navy with the Gore-Tex like type of lining with the tapered seams and stuff. Didn't look anything fancy, whatever. Anyway, I was like, oh, that's £6 into like 35 probably. Anyway, so I'll just pick it up. Picked it up for £6. Did some research. Turns out that there was people on eBay that had it listed at 500, and then I went on to it sold on Vinted for £400. But it was just a cool story because there was so many people that know their army stuff, and they were like buying all this gear off them, and we probably missed like hundreds, if not thousands, of pounds worth of stuff, right? But it was just funny that they left this one measly little jacket. We went over and we're like, we'll take that. It'll do 30. Research later, and it was sold for £400. So.
I mean, you love stuff like that. And again, you feel like it's almost like you got one up.
Yeah.
But on like, especially like, they all beat me to it, and they like scrap, like they rinsed it, but haha, I still win. Jack's out there. Probably go on to another question. Mine is a Teddy. Weirdly, beginner's luck in a charity shop. He paid 40p for it and sold it for 200.
They're the best ones, though. They are genuinely the best ones.
I had one. I think I've had 50p into something like 100 quid, but I don't think I've had anything absolutely mental.
I've had free. One of my best in terms of like really cheap ones is like the app that I've been using very recently, which is like where you get free stuff. I went and picked up like 200 vinyl records or someone. And I must have, I basically, it took time, right? But I basically Google Lensed all 200, took the ones that would sell for more than £20, listed them and sold every single one of them on eBay. There must have been about maybe 50. And then I took the rest of them to a cash for clothes that does records as well. And I did 2 lots. The first time they give me 120 and the second time they give me 80. So I probably made about £800 or £900 out of that deal, and I paid 0. It cost me time, but like, yeah, in general, that's my best one for like freebies, I think.
Fair. I actually like Yo-Yo's questions because they're a bit like different to the usual, and
they're
like
a little more
in depth. Do you work weekends, and do you feel guilty for working so much and not paying enough attention to your family, etc.?
I can answer this one pretty
family.
Yes, I work weekends. Yes, I feel guilty at times, but overall, the mission that I'm on to do what I want to do is the most important thing in my life. I'm in a very lucky position. I know, but I'm in a very lucky position where the wife like is doing this with us. So like realistically, like it's a joint effort and it's a joint team like experience. And then my one daughter's already moved out because she's older, and then my son is going to be 16 soon. So like the level of interest that he has in spending any time with us at the moment is pretty limited because he's out with his mates, going to work or going to the gym. Like they're kind of the things he does. So if anything, if I didn't do this, me and Tash would just be sitting watching TV pretty much on our own anyway. And then on the same time, like we've dedicated a long time over the last like 15 years, like putting the kids first and doing all this stuff. And obviously we still put like the kids first, but overall we're working towards something for our future to make sure it's better and that we can do things. So yes, I feel guilty at times. There are times that me and Tasha like probably could and should spend more time together outside of the business. But there is, time will come when we can roll it down a little bit and push forward. And we're trying to build to a position where we're a little bit more comfortable in the first place. And I feel like as long as if you're like, obviously if you're a couple or whatever, but I feel like as long as you're on the same page and there's no friction there, then that's fine. If there becomes friction, then obviously it's got to change. But ultimately, if you've got the same path and the same goal and the same idea, then it's fine in my head, at least.
I mean, I think so. I mean, I think you make a good point. Like, you're realistic. Your kids are at the age by where they're like they're their own thing. Like they're not like, I mean, you could go maybe do some stuff at the weekend or something like that. But I feel like generally speaking, they're just like, fuck, go away. And if Tash is on board with you, and like then there's not really a problem with that. Funnily enough, I actually feel quite guilty quite frequently. For 2 reasons. One is my mum, right? Like sometimes, so I used to go upstairs, or I used to, when I was working from home before I came here, and before I was like, had more stuff to do, right? I used to go home and watch TV with my mum, like after 5 o'clock every day. Like we'd sit and watch a series and stuff like that. And that's basically completely gone away. And then I also work weekends, and in different capacities, depending on what I'm doing, right? I probably don't need to work weekends, and in the future I'd like to do stuff that means I don't have to work weekends in the same way. Like right now I would like to take photos so I don't have to come in and take photos on the weekends, and I have done, I can do that, it's not a problem, but sometimes you just get busy with different stuff. Yeah, I feel guilty for that, and then on the weekends I should spend some time with her. But for example, this weekend I came into the office both days and spent till 8 o'clock, 7:30 yesterday, 8 o'clock here. And then after dinner, I basically just chill and don't spend time with her there either. But I make an effort to at least, or try one. I want to do it once a week, sit with her all day and kind of chill with her, because there's only so much. Well, at some point I'll be leaving, and I'll spending time with her as a limited resource in that capacity. Yeah. And then the other thing is my friends, right? So I'm really bad at responding to my friends now. Like, so I mean, I'm bad at responding anyway, but my friends sometimes want to go do stuff, or like, for example, one lives down in Devon, and I just end up just glassing over them sometimes, and I also don't want to go out in the same capacity anymore. I find it really interesting because I actually enjoy working weekends. Like considering that, I'd like the thought of being able to come in and do stuff that I want to do. It appeals to me more than for going out or going for a drink or anything like that. I like doing activities and stuff, but I feel like I leave them hanging quite a bit, which is just not good on my part. And I can blame work for that or whatever. And I think partly it's just how I am. But and my dad as well. Like I genuinely feel bad a lot of time, but I think most of it comes down to me as a person and not technically the work. And maybe my head being just because I'm busy all the time. As soon as I'm not, like I just chill. But I don't know. I feel guilty about that reasonably frequently. But I also am not very good at holding on to feelings that for very long. So it kind of slips away again and then comes back around. So it'll be like a burst where I respond a load and then I'll just disappear again and then respond a load and like disappear again. Like even now I'm thinking of a friend that I've literally left hanging ages ago who asked about meeting up, and I've thought about on the weekend that I need to message them and stuff like that. I just haven't because for whatever reason, but I think that's a personal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the answer is I work weekends. Do I feel guilty even though I don't have a family in the same sense? Yes. But also am I enjoying it? Yes. And hopefully it's funny because I started this whole business to do less at some point, like to build it so I do less. But I'm quite enjoying doing more at the moment.
What I also think is that a lot of people that have an idea that like, oh my God, you work a lot, are usually people that do like a 9 to 5 or whatever, right? And they're like, oh my God, I could never do this for like 12 hours a day, every day or whatever. And you don't have days off, like what are you doing? But fundamentally, I was talking to you literally just before the call saying that reselling in general is quite boring. Especially when you get to a certain level, because you have to have processes and stuff that in place where you're basically just doing the same thing over and over day. But I don't think there's anything else that I would enjoy doing more. And regardless of whether I get slightly bored sometimes of the whole monotony of it, there is nothing that fundamentally would be in like if I get I've said this before, but like if I went back to work now, it'd be entry level. So I'd go driving, I would work at McDonald's, I would work on a till, like anything that anybody could do, like stack shelves, like entry level work, right? And there is nothing that I can think of right now that would give me as much enjoyment and be as fulfilling as what I'm doing now. And I would much rather do this than that. And that's ultimately the trade-off, right? Is that I'm happy to do the hours now. And then you'll have people that are like, oh, I resell for like 4 hours a day, make it work. And then I'm at the gym, then I go traveling, then I do this. And that's absolutely fine as well. If that's like what you want to do and how you want to do it. It's just that in my head, I thoroughly like every day I wake up and I'm blessed to be doing this shit. Like ultimately, I don't have to, like, I have a few people that I have to answer to, but in general, like if I want to make a decision in the business, then it's pretty easy to do so. And one of the things that happened in previous places is that you feel like you've got to say you give your information and what you think needs to be changed, and then ultimately nothing changes if they don't agree. And now we have the ability just to pivot whenever we feel like it, and that freedom is genuinely like incredible in terms of like what you can do. So
it's interesting. Yeah, it is interesting.
I also want to say that I see a lot of people moaning on Instagram and in the community about customers and on all this sort of stuff, and I want people to look at it a little bit deeper and just think about the absolute privilege you've got to do what you do. I've spent time before, like when I went to go and get coffee at like coffee shops or Greg's, or like when I was being a fatty and I was at Greg's and whatever I was doing, like you'd see people walking in high vis stuff that they were caped in mud, they're building fucking roads, and we're walking around charity shops selling a few bits on eBay. Like, check yourself a little bit and just remember that you're very blessed to be doing what you're doing. As hard work as it is a lot of the time, just it's not hard work.
I mean, something that Han Lewis says, right? You got to choose your hard, and like,
yeah, absolutely.
Would you rather choose this hard than like what you're saying there is I'd rather choose this hard than that hard, and
facts.
That's it. And some hard is less hard than other hards. So, and it depends who you are. Like some people probably really enjoy going to do manual labor. Like,
oh yeah, you can enjoy that. There are people that like I know people that really enjoy doing it. But like for me, if I'm looking at these people like building roads and stuff, and I'm like, bro, like you are a machine, because there's no way I could even bother. Like I could never do it.
Sure.
Never.
what do you think of outbidders on Vinted? All my good buys get cancelled due to them. Do you outbid?
I have never once actually outbid anybody and tried to. So I'm assuming the concept here is that you would buy something and then somebody else would see it, message the person, say I'll give you an extra tenner or whatever. I've never done it personally. I know people that do it. I know people that have done it against me, etc., etc. It used to annoy me, but then also I can not be annoyed because I also cheat the system by using a bot. So there is no like right or wrong here. And ultimately, a lot of it just is down to the person who's selling the item. It's up to them whether they want to take more money or less money, whatever.
Okay, I think outbidders are very specific places. Like I think outbidding probably barely happens in women's in comparison. Like barely ever happens, I imagine. Whereas I think men's and mainstream men's, like for example, if you're sniping Stone Island, and I could guarantee you get outbid left, right, and center when you get a good snipe, because someone's on it, someone's looking for it, and people are there, all the sorts of people there that are gonna fucking try and take it from you. So stuff like that. But if you're doing like slightly more out there stuff, I feel like outbidding becomes less and less of a problem. So it might just be a matter of expanding your scope a little bit, and maybe even gender. But I think generally speaking, I feel like outbidding happens on the super hype items. Like I don't think if you're, and I always think those are harder to snipe regardless, because I think there's so many more. Like if you want to talk about bots, like your stuff being taken by bots, if you want to talk about like auto buy bots versus like, you know, better information type bots, auto buy bots are all over the place on them. Like Ralph Lauren is heinous.
The fact that I can snipe any Ralph Lauren on Vinted at all is an absolute fucking miracle, because there is auto bots set up by thousands of people across loads of different places where you can do bots. And also when you go to specific places like for the bots, they will have like pre-links.
That's what I was going to say.
Ralph Lauren, Montclair, North Face, like all of the hypey, like Montbell, all that hypey stuff, Stone Island. Like they will have specific bots already set up so that you can just click on that as a learner, where you haven't got to set your own filters, like to try and like niche something. They have like preset filters for, and it is always the hype stuff, and that's why those types of things are super competitive. But what I will say is that in Ralph Lauren, there are some pieces that they don't know is worth money, and they will let go by. And I have picked up many of them in the past. And they also don't know how much. A lot of the people that are using those filters, they don't know how much stuff is worth. So they're looking at it and going, "Oh, that's a nice piece. That's a nice piece," but it's £25 rather than 10, and they'll skip it because it's too much money. And they're like, "I don't know." I've picked up multiple Ralph Lauren pieces for £20 to £30 and sold them for like 100, 150, £200. So you've just got to, again, ultimately, every single piece of this is always down to knowledge and knowing more, or knowing whatever better.
Yeah, but I think there is definitely outbidders, and I definitely think so. And the more well known and good it's going to be, the more likely you're going to be outbid. I think I think hype beast sellers are just like that sort of person. There's so many bad things like that, and all the discords just like make it worse. Generally speaking. Let me just go up quickly. Mine is Teddy Weirdly, in just in case. Okay, Yo coming in again. Do you think it's possible to run a 500K year clothing store as a one-man operation?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think there's probably people that do it. I think I know people that do it already.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard, way much. Like I think running it as a one-man operation a lot of time is unnecessary. I think people you can want to hold on to your business for so long, and the fact that your next question is about feeling physical pain doing the job is like, hey, maybe you let a bit go to one, probably scale even more, and two, take some of the strain off yourself, because also, I think this also is another question. Like you could run a 500K store easily with one person, depending on what your margins are, right? Like if you're happy to take smaller margins and sell for, you know, for example, just buy expensive things but make 50 quid profit on them, but spend 100, all the time, then realistic, your store's going to get to 500K quite quickly. But if you want to maintain a really large margin, then it might be, if you want to maintain a massively profitable margin, like car boot type margins, then it becomes harder. If you want to go somewhere in the middle, it's doable, but then becomes very demanding of you and your time. I think it's 100% doable without a doubt, but it just becomes far more difficult by yourself. And also I feel like if you'll get to 500K, you don't need to hold on to it by yourself, especially if you want to go further. Like what's the point of running it by yourself? Just to make how out of 500K, how much would hiring someone to take photos take up? Like probably if you paid minimum wage, or because it's a very, entry level job of just standing there and taking photos, you could do, it's going to cost you, I don't even know, what does minimum wage actually come to nowadays? I don't even know.
£12 something.
What does that come to for the year though? I don't
know.
And it wouldn't even come to that because they wouldn't be doing it all day, I imagine.
No.
Just random number, just 20K off of that, right? If you just take 20K off, so you got 480K, and you get 3 hours back or whatever it's taking you to do that many photos to hit that number, then realistically, you're going to put yourself in a much better position and with more room to scale, because that person can just do more and more. If you deliver them more and more stuff, if you take that time and invest it in something else that's going to be more fruitful for your business.
This does fall into one of the questions I had, which was, at what point does it become a diminishing return to keep employing people to make? So if you say you have to employ that person,
question to ask you.
So like, does that 20K that you spend a year like getting the guy to do the photos, are you able to then increase your revenue by 20K or 40K to make it worth it? And at what point, how many staff do you get before you can't scale it
any more out? Yeah,
because ultimately there is a point of diminishing returns. Like if you could make £1 million a year, but you're making less than when you were making 600 grand a year, then what is the point other than just try and build something that just revenue wise? Because there's one big thing is there's a massive difference between revenue and profit every time. Like it's huge, right? So I think that sometimes can be, and obviously it was asked me because you
got peeps.
I've got people now, you know what I'm saying? So
I think it's a great question, to be honest with you. It's interesting because I think anyone you hire, you can make it a diminishing return quite easily if you don't do anything. So for example, if you hired someone to take photos and then you didn't buy more stuff or supply them with stuff, well, it could not be a diminishing return because it gives you more time back, and that's what you wanted.
It depends on the aim of the.
If it's financial though, like you need to be able to give that person or make that person utilize them in the way that's going to grow your business. So if you don't start bringing in more stuff with the time you've saved doing photos, then like what's the point? Like then you've just lost money. But I think technically anyone that comes in and does in a physical time consuming job. So for example, the photos, the packaging, the listing's not really as much of a problem anymore with like kind of AI listers and stuff like that. It's obviously still somewhat time. Some definitely still going to be time consuming, but like I think that's one, very hard to teach someone, and two, with AI makes it less reason to teach someone. But maybe there's some point you teach them to use the AI lister and that becomes easier, right? Each one of those jobs should give you a large amount of time back. So especially at scale. So for example, doing 30 a day or like for 50, 60 a day, right? Taking photos is going to take you hours. Packaging is going to take you over an hour, most likely. Listings probably going to take you somewhat similar time, generally speaking. But if you can outsource all those and get that like 5 hours back to yourself, that allows you to then input more in there and scale that. So it's until the point, I think when you start hiring non-time task roles, for example, maybe that you aren't doing. So if you hire some admin type stuff, it's less, for example, but like bookkeepers and stuff like that, where they're outsourced kind of, and they're away from you and you weren't doing it before, then it's not, and you hire someone more expensive or that gets more money, you're just squeezing a margin. But there shouldn't be a point where it's diminishing returns unless someone just can't output far more than you. So for example,
realistically, for you to make it not a diminishing return, you have to have the availability to collect more stock, but you just need more time to do so. So ultimately, you need to have an avenue to get more stuff before you hire somebody to waste time so that you can focus on getting that stock, if that makes sense. Otherwise, it does become a diminishing return in a sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're utilizing them right, there's almost not a point, because
realistically, like in my situation, like I hired to get time back, but then I didn't use at first I didn't use that time effectively to bring in more stuff, because ultimately we've stayed at roughly the same level since they've been on board. So that is a diminishing return. Like I'm making less money now than I was, because I've got somebody in that's saving me time. However, I'm not using that time effectively enough to bring in more, and that's on me to work out and deal with, if that makes sense. I'm trying to obviously I'm doing it a little bit more now because I'm sourcing from multiple different places. We're able to get stock a little bit easier, but it's taken nearly 8 months for me to be able to realize that and get it sorted.
Realistically, I'm thinking about this, right? And there is definitely ways that it won't make a difference, right? If you're just, again, if you waste your time. But if I hire one photographer and then I double the amount I can source, and then they double the amount I can list, then boom, double my business for 20K. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I hire another photographer. I might not, that doesn't give me extra time to buy more stuff.
No.
So I can now technically do double of what I was doing. Like, but how do I then get more time to source more stuff? So again, it becomes a sourcing problem. But if you can figure out a way to use your time to source stock more effectively, then again, but if you then hire another person, you just can't supply these people with enough stuff, regardless of how, that's when it diminishes. As soon as you stop being able to complete the process based on, duplicating or multiplying how much you're doing, then there's no point. So I think that's super. I mean, it's basically what we said at the start, but I was just thinking about it like in a real world situation, because obviously one person, I get my time back. 2 people, I don't get more time. I've just got another person to deliver for. But if I hired someone to do, time consuming job, like the packaging, then I get more stuff. So it's interesting.
Right. Oh, he's gone. Benji, he's 100%. He's hit his keyboard and he's removed himself again. Did you do it? I'm going to tell you. Press back on your keyboard again.
Okay.
Right, we've got 3 to 5 minutes. Should we do a quick fire?
Yeah, because I've got quite a few that I haven't got to. Actually, I just want to do this one quickly. This is from Andrew. Is Money Mental the UK's hottest YouTuber ever? No. Quick fire answer.
Quick fire answer.
Do you want to go back and forth?
Okay, go on then. We've got one here. What's your favorite thing about each other? This is the weirdest one. But mine for you is your underwhelming positivity towards a lot of things. No, overwhelming positivity. It's, do you know when, even though you're very you're sort of flat and there's no highs and lows, but when I talk to you, I feel like you are confident. I think it's a confidence thing. You're just confident that things will work out. You're confident that things will work out the way you want them to. It just genuinely is really I don't have the confidence. I've got confidence, but I don't have the unwavering confidence that you have, where you're just oh yeah, this is going to work because I think that this makes sense. So in my head, I'm just going to roll with it. And for the most part, it usually does, right? But it's just an ability you have to be super nonchalant, but also confident in what's going to happen.
It's interesting because sometimes I'm not I feel like I'm just, if it's good or bad, if whatever I think it's going to be, I'm pretty certain. But mine for you is, I don't even know how to word it, but the reason we started this podcast is because we were able to have genuinely I feel like your brain works similar to me in what we discussed. We were able to have really good conversations about stuff, and the ability for your brain to think the way your brain thinks and is quite similar to mine at points. And I being able to have good conversations about stuff on a level that's I enjoy is kind of, I don't know what to describe, but just the way your brain works and how you think about things. I also respect, even though I think it's stupid at points and we'll call you out for it, I also respect your you will just take action. on something you find new and interesting. And I don't have that. Like, I don't have that. I will just take action. And I respect that a lot, in the fact that you find an idea you think is good and try it. Like, I think that's always quite cool. What would you like to thank your past reseller self for?
Ooh, mine is making all of the mistakes that I made, and on top of that, had an unwavering thought process of proving a past me wrong. I say that this is one of the things that one of the reasons why I feel like I work as hard as I do, and I do as much as I do, is that previous me had such a negative, miserable existence in my brain. Like I was such a negative person. It was always woe is me, the world's against me. And that sort of version of myself is in my opinion well and truly dead. They're probably very creepy in every now and then, but now like I have a much more like energetic like thought about life and how it works. And the more you surround yourself with people that are good and happy and like, you know, hungry for stuff, like I feel like that rubs off on you massively. So one of my things is just proving my old self wrong. Like I never used to think I'd do. There is 10 years ago, there is absolutely no fucking bone in my body that would thought that I'd be able to do what we are currently doing right now. Not one. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that I'm so happy that I fell into this and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Mine's kind of similar, but not exactly. But mine's so basic and stupid, like such a stereotypical answer, but like sticking to it, because I have had a real problem with jumping from thing to thing when I get satisfied with like the level I'm at. And what that probably looked like in this business, if I was staying at 10 for so long, like I was like satisfied with how the business, like that I could do it if I wanted to, and like therefore I kind of was satisfied there. But the fact that I stuck to it and made this an actual thing, I'm thankful for myself for. And part of that's probably like joining communities and stuff. Like I've always said that that's been a thing for me, is like having, like you just said, talking to people. But in my way, it's staying involved and engaged with what it is that I'm doing helps me stay on track with what I'm doing and keep doing what I'm doing, because I know I'm bad at it at points. So yeah, mine's stupid, but just actually sticking to it and like not fucking off and trying something new, even though I've probably been close at points.
Yeah, same. I've been close loads of times.
You go.
Oh, mine was, if you're not going to sell clothes, what would you sell? My answer is instantly cameras and coffee machines. Like they would be my two. Cameras have just got such a ridiculous sell-through rate, and for the most of them, they're relatively easy. If you get like the square eBay boxes, you can post them up pretty quickly. Like they are not that difficult to send. They're really easy to list, and they sell really fast for really good money. So like cameras is one. Coffee machines is like close second, but they are a little bit more of a pain to pack and send.
I kind of like the idea of watches.
Watches, cool one, yeah.
Like on all levels, right? I feel like a lot of watches sell really, really well, and then obviously there's so much room in the niche to get into like big flips and stuff.
Yeah.
I always think that watches are quite a cool niche that I never
and
really
invest in watches. So like you can buy a watch for like 20, 2 years later it's worth 30, and like you don't have to actually buy to sell. You can buy to hold then sell. Like it's a really like functioning things. It's quite cool.
A really cool like niche. I mean, I'd also love to go to Pokemon cards, but not purely just because I want to open them, not because maybe as a what like looking at the live stream yesterday, I was like, I'd love doing this.
Margins on Pokemon cards inherently are very low, unfortunately.
Yeah, people buy like 85% basically a lot of time of value. But yeah, I like watches. If you could go back and give yourself a piece of advice before starting, what would it be?
Mine would be do your own. No, I can't say that one.
Interesting.
I can't say that one. Go on. Have you got one?
I mean, kind of, yeah. But what advice would I generally give myself to put myself in a better position faster? I mean, I did all right reasonably well, like reasonably quickly. But right now, based on what I'm doing, is look outside of the box. But the other thing, the main thing that actually comes to mind is just learn your niche better. is actually my first one, because I feel like the faster I learned my niche, the better I would do. But I think the other one is don't be afraid to look outside the box for sourcing mainly, because I think that's the number one problem. And if you can take some risks and try and figure some other stuff out, then you'll put yourself in a really good position for the future. But I don't know. I think it would just be learn my niche better, and because the quicker I can learn what's bad, the quicker I can stop buying shit, and therefore my business will be better.
I've actually got mine now, which is something that you yourself and Harry helped me with massively at one point, which is to not let your emotions take over. So like you said it, and I think Harry said it loads as well, which is depending on how I was in the day, you guys would know how good my sales day was the day before, because I would let whether I was having a good day or a bad day in sales on eBay would massively impact my mood and my ability to communicate in a functional manner without being pissy or really happy. And that's something that I have capped massively now. Like at the moment I look at it and go, January is not very good, but I know that I'll continue and will be good in the future or whatever. I'm not stressed about it. I'm not up and down. I'm just very sort of level-headed about it, and that's something I wish I had very early on in it, because I think that's something that I reacted a lot. Like, you know, when you said one of the things you like and don't like is that I can think of something, I'll just do it. I'll do it. But sometimes that's not good when it's from a reactionary standpoint. So like if something happens, I'm like, I'm just going to list 100 items today because fucking didn't sell anything yesterday. That's a stupid reactionary thing to do it. But if I'm like, all right, cool, I've just got a deal where I can get 100 DVD players that sell for 60 quid and I'm only having to pay £10 a piece, I would just go, right, I'm going to go and buy those. Whereas you'd be like, maybe not, doesn't really fit in the system. And you'd have more, you know what I mean? That's a good one rather than a negative one. But yeah, just being slightly more level-headed always helps.
You got any more?
No, that was it. But also Tasha was talking about a watch where she went to drop off her parcels and a guy was talking about a watch she picked up for a tenner at Car Boot, didn't have a strap, wasn't working, went to get it changed, expected it to be fake, went to go and get the battery changed and a new watch strap, turns out it's worth 15 grand. It's mental.
Joe said she'd sell pens and she'd have a huge store in a small cupboard.
Yeah, mate, there's some pens that sell for like £300-500.
Is there a banner pen niche?
My next one is you run a podcast together, you run the reseller group together. What's the next thing?
Oh God, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if we're saying we're working, but
no, I mean, there's stuff going on.
Yeah,
God, I was thinking about this yesterday, and obviously we got meeting after this, but I feel like our lives are like entwined forever at this point in time.
You're never getting rid of me at this point.
There'll be something at some point.
100%.
Depending on what it is, which is funny. And stuff that's going on, there is stuff going on that we can't say at this point.
Let's just say there's always something going on.
There's something we're yapping about somewhere.
Like I said, we never shut up.
What's the biggest mistake you see intermediate resellers make?
I actually know my answer to this one, so I don't know if you.
Intermediate is such an interesting question because that's like big, like you're not looking at beginner mistakes, you're looking at like slightly above that as to what someone's been doing.
My opinion on this is that intermediate resellers' mistakes are usually based around not extending their knowledge, because this is something that I fell in the trap of. You could argue that I'm still an intermediate. I don't know what level intermediate is for you, but when I felt I was intermediate, I was capped on my knowledge, but not willing to increase my knowledge. So like I was just picking up what I picked up, and then I would go, it's fucking, it's really hard to get these things anymore. Like there's so many resellers. But actually I would walk past people. I would go to the car boot and be like, this car boot was shit, but I would walk past 17 people with IKEA bags full. And I'd be like, well, they don't think it's crap. I think it's crap. So why? What is it that I haven't done that they have done? What do I not know that they know? And sometimes they're happier with smaller margins. Maybe they're just starting out and they're kind of buying loads and figuring it out. But I also knew a few of them that were as good as we were at the time, and they were still picking up bangers after bangers, and I wasn't. So I think a lot of intermediate people tend to get capped at a knowledge base, and then they fail to push themselves through and learn more and more and more. And then that can be difficult. And also, one thing I will say is that I think sometimes there's a comfortability at intermediate. So when I was in the intermediate section, I got not lazy, but I got comfortable, and comfort kills everything because, yeah, in my opinion, this is a hard thing to do, and you've got to work hard to make it work.
See, I think intermediate is such a hard, like a hard level to even like think about logically as to what an intermediate person necessarily looks like. Like I don't know what necessarily. I feel like an intermediate person is different to everyone.
Yes, yeah, so this Happy Day says, can you define what level of a reseller is you per turnover? What qualifies you as an expert, beginner, intermediate? And again, that's why I think it's so difficult, because I wouldn't class myself as an expert in any shape or form, but I also, in my head, I'm also past intermediate, but I don't know what any of those levels look like in terms of turnover. I don't know what they look like in terms of everything. But in my head, an expert is somebody that's making seriously good money and doing minimal hours to do it. Like that's like somebody who's crafted it so that they can do less work and make more money. Like that's fantastic.
You know what's interesting? I don't even think necessarily the turnover is 100% related, because you could like I mean, I guess you have to have been there at some point to be considered it, but like you could go up, go down, and know your shit really, really well without even doing that. And then you have some people that are like doing well that still haven't quite got a grasp of what they're doing and don't know some things, or they're running a store in a certain way that does, like, they might be missing a load of stuff that they don't know about.
By the way, turnover is 100% not a component of it, because I genuinely think that Harry is one of the best resellers I know in terms of knowledge. Like, you could speak to him for 2 hours about clothing and he knows way more than anybody that I've ever spoken to, like, period. But he is quite happy. I think I'm not sure if he wants me to say, but he's at a level right now where he's perfectly happy. He's traveling, he's doing what he wants. But when it comes to knowledge, like, even outside of clothing, he'll just randomly pick stuff up and be like, oh yeah, this is why this is going to sell for X amount. And I'm like, what? How do you even know that? But like, he's been doing it for 10 years, but silently and kind of just chill. But he is one of the most knowledgeable people I know.
It's interesting because I don't know what it's actually a great question, and we probably could spend too much time on it. But for example, if someone's doing 500K, then they look at me at 100K and I'm an intermediate reseller.
Yeah.
And then anyone up to the 100K might be a beginner or like starting out, right? And then for us, between the 100 to 200K mark, in terms of revenue wise, intermediate's probably like 50, and the or around that mark, and then the beginners just starting out. And I think, and then you go up to like 2 million, right? And then the 500K person's like an intermediate, and then the 100K is like a beginner, and it all like scales in different fashions. So I don't think it really is very down to your perspective, and it's subjective as what it is. But I'd say if I'm thinking of what I consider an intermediate reseller, it's not about revenue, it's more about how they go about things. And I'd say the things that they often do is, one, accountability for sometimes what's going wrong, or for example, you said that you can't find stuff or do stuff like that. I think people that have got themselves sorted often just know that it's on them to figure something out. And I think a lot of people can. I got another question here that's about algorithms. I can't remember where it is. Basically, what's something that like is that someone's problem, but they blame on an algorithm or something like that. And I think stuff like that, where you don't take accountability and you are at the will of the algorithm or such, as like, oh, it's doing well for me, it's doing bad for me, and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of that stuff doesn't matter when you get to a certain point and you're like, I just need to do the right things for my business. Yeah. And someone that has that sorted and is adding the right things and doing the right things for their business consistently and knows what that is and takes accountability for making that happen is what I would consider to be more of an expert level thing to do. And yeah, I think having the understanding of how your business functions and what makes it tick, and could you
equate the beginner, intermediate, and expert down to time, like a timeline? Like, so somebody who's like 6 months in as beginner, maybe over 2 years, you could equate it to that? Because I think now, and I don't even think you could do that. Like, I think it's really hard to define. It's very linear and kind of like could be anywhere.
I think you can have people that are doing it for like you said, just like you still pick up bad items, right? Like, are you therefore an expert? I don't know. It's interesting. Like, but I am consider myself more of an expert than other people who've been doing it for less time.
Also,
right?
what I will say is, in terms of reselling, you can be an. I think was it Richard Branson that basically just didn't understand numbers whatsoever, like at all, and he just hired somebody to know what the numbers were, and then he didn't know what his difference between his gross revenue and his like net revenue was, and in a meeting he had to get the accountant to like step outside and explain it to him because he had no fucking clue, and I think this is the thing with reselling, right? Like there are people that are incredible, like genuinely incredible, like knowledge wise when it comes to clothing and stuff like that, but can't structure their cash flow correctly, or they just haven't got the time, the effort, the health, or whatever it is to do the amount of items that they need to do to make it. So I think it's genuinely impossible to sort of like give it any sort of real...
I think you can have like a general idea though, right? Like I think most people, you probably have your own perception of it when you think about it. And Tash is interesting, and this is definitely why you can't put it for revenue, because different niches, right? So for example, if I sell one car for as a reseller, right, on eBay or whatever, on Auto Trader, doesn't really matter. I'm no expert by any means. If I sell 1 million stamps for like a penny each or whatever, I know stamps pretty well generally. Probably like it's like I feel like it's super niche dependent, and you can't put a turnover on it.
I also think there's a little bit like, I don't compare myself against people in a negative way. But I think if you look at people in like specifically, like let's just take the clothing niche, right? You look at people you gauge and understand roughly where you are based on the people that you know. So I know people that are doing 200K, I know people that are doing 50K, and I'm sitting around that 180, 185. So like in my head, I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'm on the slightly higher end, but I don't know everybody. So there might be somebody like, you've got like the Thrift Plus and the Loopies and stuff like that, which are obviously like millions or whatever. But like in terms of like resellers, like I don't know people that do more than, I don't know anybody right now that does more than 300K a year on clothing, like personally. So like then I mean there are probably people that do it, and you might know somebody, I don't, but like so I look at it and go, well, in my head, pardon.
Where do you rank?
Yeah, so I'm just sort of ranking myself, not in a negative way or being competitive or being a dick or any of that, but I just look at it and go, oh, well, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm doing okay compared to the other people and what they're listing and how that's working and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of how you gauge yourself.
Yeah, I would. Turnover is a vanity metric, so it means very little in terms of you're an expert or not. I agree. And for example, I would say, I'm just gonna say be confident here. I would say I'm above my pay grade for how much I feel like I know and understand things. Like,
see, there you go. There was you with that confidence again that I like. Yeah, I'm gonna be confident here. I'm good.
Yeah, like you could put me in a room with probably most people, and there's like some aspects of the technical side of things of running the business that I'm not good at, and there's lots of people that are like you said, like that, even at higher levels. But yeah, I'm pretty confident I know and understand the reselling pretty well. And it'd be interesting to like I'd love to do an experiment, even though it'll never happen, to like throw us into a different niche or something like that, and like see how
I'm already doing it a little bit, and
I know
mistakes, and that's fine. Like I'll make mistakes as well.
But yeah, it's super interesting, and I think to put mine is about knowledge and how confident I feel like someone understands their business and what they're doing in it more than their numbers, right? Because I think you can be earning 70K and have less idea than someone who's earning 40K and knows exactly what they're doing, and it depends how they want to run it and what they're doing. Yeah. So
I genuinely think self-awareness is one of the biggest things in terms of like anything. Just knowing, like you said, right? Like if somebody's dismissive when somebody brings something up, like or something that you're doing. One thing that we've had debates in the reseller group, right? Like we'll have like, I'm thinking of this idea, and then loads of people will come in and go, "Have you thought about this? Or you thought about that?" And I always like the idea that I've thought about stuff enough, so I'm confident, and I'm like, right, I'm aware that there are flaws. But then when someone says something and you don't have an answer to it, you have to be self-aware enough to go, I haven't thought about that bit enough. And you have to just take it on board. I don't find anything combative. Well, combative maybe, but like I don't find anything aggressive or demeaning whenever we talk about certain things, because I'm very self-aware and understand that I don't know everything, and I'm willing to take stuff on board. And I think that's one of the biggest things as well, is just being able to look at yourself and go, I don't know everything. And regardless of whether this person sells 2 items a year or 7 million items a year, every single one of those people might have an opinion or like something to help me, that and
an idea
that may be good. And I think that's something to think about. Not just dismissing people based on their turnover or where they're at, like really looking at yourself and saying, this idea is good regardless of where it comes from.
The last thing we'll end it on is what do you like best about the podcast?
What do I like best about the podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? Mine's actually quite interesting, but obviously you said before, like we used to have like a lot of back and forth on like WhatsApp and Instagram and stuff like that, and we'd have good conversations and really interesting. And although you said that we kind of like have a similar brain in the way we think, I also feel like we disagree on some things.
Mm-hmm.
But we're always like obviously respectful in everybody's opinion, but we're like, oh no, I'm right, you're right, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And then obviously when we started the group, like I feel like that sort of slowed down a little bit because we were always talking in the group. So for me, it's just that because we don't have those conversations on Instagram or wherever we were doing it.
Space.
So this ultimately is like an hour or so a week where we get to have those types of conversations, but it's slightly more structured. Because I was talking in the group the other day to somebody, and I remember sending you without a reply about 14 minutes worth of voice notes. And then you would do the same back to me. And like it was chaos for like weeks, right? And I feel like this is a good space because obviously we do that less now because of the group stuff, and we're also scaling so it's busier and stuff. So this is just this is just a nice space to just jump on, chat some shit, have a good catch up, like debate a few things, and then move on with our day.
That shows you a really good point. I feel like having a space to still just kind of like hang out and chat about things, and even though it's like technically a more public forum or whatever, I still enjoy it and coming in here. And I think having people input and debate and having those things come into our conversation is also fun. But I like coming on and talking to people and hearing people's opinions, and also I think it was a very good point. I like that a lot, actually. I back yours, and having the space to, within everything we're doing when we're chatting all the time and doing all this stuff, that we still come and hang out for like an hour a week or whatever, which is fun. So
even an hour a week, this is way less than we used to voice notes. So
final thing. So I put a thing in place on our podcast for like when we first started this. I wanted to go a year without having a guest on.
We are at a year. Tomorrow we're at a year.
We're at a year. So in the comments for this video, I would like to hear suggestions as to who you'd like on as a guest within reason. Don't ask for like Donald Trump. That'd be a crazy episode. But like in the reseller space and around it, maybe, and just outside that, who you'd like on as a guest, drop it down below and we'll have a look at them and see what we can do. But apart from that, happy birthday to us. Thank you. And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.